3.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
I'm Nicholas, I'm the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and Movie Critique. And today what we're going to talk about is a little bit of a complex topic. You came up with it, Nick, you should explain it. I'm washing my hands of this.
Alright, well, basically it's easier to explain it with an example. Okay. Say you don't like a certain genre of movie or TV show or something. Say, for example, you hate superhero movies. And then your friends convince you, or, you give it a shot, and you watch a superhero movie, and, you love it. It's all of a sudden. So basically what we're counting out here is the top 3 movies or TV show that we shouldn't like, but we do. It doesn't change your view on anything else. You still hate everything from the genre. And yet, you watch it, and you watch that, and you're like, wow, this is spectacular. This is the exception that proves the rule of me hating all of the other genres.
Oh, against all odds.
Exactly.
To randomly quote Phil Collins.
Sure. Why not?
And I thought actually that was a pretty challenging one for me, like a challenging top 3 for me. Because I tend to approach things as like, anything could be good. Like, there's very few genres where I disconnect right away. I'll gotta give everything a try.
Okay. I actually tend to be very, very, very selective about my movement, and I don't really go out of my way to see movies I don't like. Like, the ones I watch, I was pretty much tricked into watching them. So, exceptions for me, it's kind of weird.
Alright then, why not let's get started right away with, Nick, you gotta start with your number 3 pick for movie that you shouldn't like, yet you do.
Yeah. Well, I don't care much for musical. I don't get why people just start bursting in songs in the middle of a story.
Why don't you like musicals? It's so entertaining. Sorry.
Most of the time, the music is not that great anyway, and it just feels odd. The way, especially they're filmed, that everybody else is looking at the person like singing, and it's normal. It's really weird to me. So, not a big fan of musical. However, Hard Day's Night is a great film that I really enjoy. I love it. It's from the Beatles, first of all, which I love their music. And when they start singing, it's mostly like they kind of cut away from the movie. It's more filmed like music video style, where it's not at all in the story. They just go and have some music and video, and they do they do the music video, and then it goes back into the story. It's not like integrated, like you're supposed to take it for normal that the Beatles start singing and then they stop and then we go back to the story. No, it's really a cut, and then you see a music video.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's 2 reasons why you like this musical more than others. 1, like you said, it has the Beatles, which means amazing music.
Yeah.
And 2, it's not Help.
Yeah. Even Help, the music can help. If you cut the rest of the movie and fast forward, I love Help. The way the music videos are filmed, spectacular. The rest of the story, crap. But that's why I can't really put it on a list. But again, it's the way the music is filmed, really. Yeah,
no, I agree. Hard Day's Night is actually a really fun movie. Mostly because it's so lighthearted and sort of like it. It's a day in the life of kind of movie. And
exactly.
There's no real consequences to it. So you can just watch and enjoy the music. It's not trying to compel you with any, like, bullcrap drama,
Yeah, it's not like, like my favorite reference to that is the Elvis movies, where they try to make Elvis be 100 different things.
And always the underdog.
Yeah. But he's a biker or, jailbird or anything else, but he's not a singer. Or if he's a singer, it's like on the side there. The Beatles are just the Beatles. That's who they are in A Hard Day's Night. So they can act very well because it's basically them being themselves. And yeah, it's no drama. It's just a day in their life. They have to do a concert. That's it.
Yeah. And I have to say, I love it a lot better than its remake, Spice World.
Oh, man, I hate it when you make that joke. But yes, Spice World is a pure ripoff without the music.
No, it has music.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Kinda, yeah.
It mostly has girls shouting. If you listen again to the Spice Girls music, that's what it sounds like. It's just like girls shouting.
That's because they're British. It's how they sing.
Oh no, come on. S-Club 7, which has the same type of music, at least they're singing. I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying it's song.
I was just joking. Anyway, Adele is a spectacular singer, and she's British, so that was just a we cracked that had no foundation whatsoever anyway.
So you just talk about the Beatles. They're British too, you know?
Damn it. You can cut that part, right?
I can cut that part. I won't now, but I don't know how many times I have to tell the panelists on these recordings. The minute you say you can cut that right is the minute I decide not to cut it.
Awesome. Let's just change subject then. What is your number 3?
My number 3 pick for, I shouldn't like this, and yet I do, is of the soap opera girl chick show type category. Like, I'm not a big fan of soap operas in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I did spend about half a year watching Days of Our Lives, but...
That's because the stories are compelling.
Well, I was actually compelled by... How do the writers come up with this stuff? And it's not like because, oh, it's so bad, how did they come up with that stuff? It's sort of like, of course it's bad. They come up with stuff 5 days a week without any summer break. Of course, eventually somebody's going to come up with crap and they're just going to go run with it.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you come up with that much stuff? Like, that much crap? Like,
yeah.
It's amazing.
It's so random, too.
Yeah. There was one Days of Our Life storyline where there was a guy who had been brainwashed to become a mad doctor in his past, a mad military doctor, so that he had knowledge of surgery and all of that stuff, but he was evil. And he was always worried that part of his personality, his Mr. Hyde side, would come out again if he didn't calm down in cases of medical crisis. It was just like, that's hilarious!
That's awesome.
I know!
Wow.
It was so awesome. But anyway, back to the thing.
Yeah.
At least daytime soaps have that entertaining factor where they're just so crazy that you can like them on that level. The primetime soap operas like Time of Your Life or Party of Five and all that stuff, or where it's like a bunch of people and their friends and they hang out like Gossip Girl or whatever. It's like, I don't care. Like, it just doesn't appeal to me. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like, there's only so many talking heads talking about things I don't give a crap about that really interest me.
Okay.
And yet, one of my all-time favorite shows to this day, like right near at the top, if not at the top, remains Gilmore Girls.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I think so. And I'm trying to identify why. And I think it's because, it captured a literary style that's popular in America in a way that they've never been able to do outside of literature, which is the Americana quirky. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, not at all.
It's a style of book that mixes the romance novel with the fairy tale in overt sort of self-referential way. And a good example of that is Where the Heart Is, which they made into a movie with Ashley Judd and Natalie Portman, where she gives birth in a Walmart. Yeah. Like, that's sort of quirky and bizarre, but it's a fairy tale aspect because life all suddenly falls into place for her because she was virtuous and all of that crap. And the movie's like horrible. But Gilmore Girls sort of has these same elements where she's clearly Snow White, like she escaped the evil mother figure, got into the woods, which is called Stars Hollow.
Okay.
And find woodland creatures, which is the citizens of Stars Hollow. And then, had her happy life and regains the kingdom near the end, this time through her daughter. It's clearly Snow White.
Yeah.
But they did it in a way where it's funny. Like, it's just really, really funny.
Okay.
Lauren Graham is hilarious. And the pop culture references are just like, they keep coming every 5 minutes. And they don't always explain them.
Yeah, I like that one. You don't explain about, you just do them, and if people get the joke, they get it. If they don't, well, too bad. You'll get the next one.
Yeah. One of my favorites in the later seasons, at one point where they mentioned that Luke and Lorelai, they saw episode 3 together and they thought it was crap. And then later, Luke is fixing her roof, so he's on top of her house, and they start having an argument. And out of nowhere, he just goes like, yeah, well, I have higher ground, so I win. It's just completely random.
Nice. He has a good point, though.
And you can tell, like, they worked hard for that joke to set up the fact that he would have to repair her roof and all that.
but it was worth it. You know, people who got it, yeah, you know, but how many people did not see episode 3 really? So most of the people got that joke, and it's completely worth it.
Yeah, no, totally. No, it's just it's a great show that I think the reason why it works for me it's because it's not about the drama, it's about the comedy.
Okay.
So moving on to your number 2 pick for thing that you shouldn't like and yet you do.
Well, I don't like criminals and stoners, but mostly criminals. I don't think they're compelling. I don't think they're awesome. I don't think, you know, they should, you know, people watch them in the movie and it's like, this is so great. And I was like, no, they're criminals. This is not something I like to watch and identify with, you know. Like, oh, he's so cool, you know. It's like, I don't do that. I don't like that. I don't really like movies that kind of glorify criminals like that.
Except if it's Bruce Campbell and it takes place with Greek mythology.
Yes. Well, he was not the star of the show. And,
right.
You know, Bruce Campbell, he usually did the right thing at the end anyway. So
sure.
He had heart of gold. But there's one movie that, you know, I watched mostly by accident because I didn't know what it was about. But I thought it was like, wow, this is awesome. And I realized afterwards, oh, they're just a bunch of criminals. And it was Ocean's 11.
We're talking about the Frank Sinatra one or the George Clooney one?
The George Clooney one. This is hilarious, and it was a great movie. And when I figured out how they were going to do the heist, like, I figured out, like, maybe, 5 minutes before my friends did. And I just started laughing, and my friends were like, well, you'll see when you figure out what they're doing. And it was great. And I'm thinking I like them because they're all idiots. So it's kind of hard to have the hero worship of those criminals because they're just a bunch of idiots. So.
Yeah, and they do make clear that they're robbing a guy that's as bad as they are.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's peculiar about the end of Ocean's 11, and of course the sequel sort of ruined that, but it's like you get the sense that they're going to pay for it one way or the other. Like the way it ends, you're like, yeah, you didn't get away scot-clean with this.
Yeah, no, he knows you did it. And first of all, you're going back to jail for breaking parole, and you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. he's gonna find a way to get his money back.
Sure. No, it's a very witty movie. I like that movie a lot as well.
Yeah.
And I get your animosity towards criminals in movies. I always care about the unseen victim in these things.
Yeah.
So when, you have like this amazing jewel heist and you're like, that jewel belongs to someone,
Yeah. Or, they're trying to get away from a chase and they kill a bunch of people, like in Fast 5. You're like...
Well, they didn't kill a bunch of people.
Well...
There's a newscast that keeps telling you that these people never killed anyone. You're like, that's unlikely. That's unlikely.
And whatever, the damage they caused, you're making it hard for me to root for you guys, really.
Oh, yeah, Fast 5, they get away with it by being so stupid that you're like, if you're watching a movie called Fast 5, you're just like, you're going to have to accept this crap,
Yeah, I guess.
But Ocean's 11 is smarter about it. I agree with you.
Yeah.
They make the characters believable in the real world, but look, they're going to pay for it. They're robbing some jackass anyway, and they're idiots. They don't know any better.
Exactly.
I love how Brad Pitt cannot be in a single shot without eating something.
I hadn't even noticed that.
Every shot he's in, he's eating something. It's hilarious.
Nice. I wonder if it was a script or if it was an actor's choice.
Oh.
So with that, what is your number 2?
My number 2 pick is actually it's similar to yours. I do not like stoner comedies either. Like, you're more towards the criminal thing.
Yeah.
But, because I don't mind the criminals in movies that much, depending on how it's treated. But stoner comedies do not do it for me. Like, Cheech and Chong is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Dude, where's my car? Oh, God, no. None of that stuff works for me. And yet, I love Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Really?
I think it's funny. And yes, a lot of it is a race thing. Like, it's like, oh, it's because you're Asian and they're Asian. And it's like, it's not that way, but the short answer to that is yes. That's the reason why.
Okay.
And because Harold and Kumar, while in the context of a stoner comedy, is actually about racial relationships.
Okay.
They position the fact that they're stoners almost as an act of freedom from the stereotypes. Because you wouldn't imagine, 2 Asian dudes, an Indian guy and a Korean guy, being like the major stoners. Major stoners are always like white hipsters in movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Here you got like a Korean accountant and an Indian med student being stoners. It's breaking all kinds of stereotypes right there.
Yeah.
And the whole movie is about them trying to get to White Castle, not trying to get drugs. They already got high at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And now all they want to do is get to White Castle, which of course, get to White Castle.
Oh, I did not even see that.
And it's all about them being abused by their white counterparts. Like, there's a lot of racists in that movie.
Yeah.
And them just getting their piece of the American pie, if you will.
Okay.
And it's because they're stoned, they're too stupid to get it in the easy way, and because it's in a crazy universe, everything bad that could happen to them happens to them.
Yeah.
But a lot of their obstacles is various aspects of racism, and it actually deals with them in a sincere way where you'll have really funny stuff where they encounter a racist cop who puts them in jail, and then they share a cell with a black guy, and they sort of freely confess that as Asians, like, yeah, it's annoying. The racism thing is annoying, but I don't have it as bad as you do. But let's face it, I do not have it as bad as you. Stuff like that, where they eventually write a panther thing that's a symbol for gangs. It was like, maybe we'll get to our White Castle through gangs, and the panther goes in the wrong direction. It's like, it's full of really funny symbolism like that.
See, I'm pretty sure that you saw like the symbolism that 90% of the people completely missed when they saw the movie, and it's just like, stoners are funny, and that was pretty much why they liked the movie.
Maybe. But at the same time, there's some that's a little bit overt. Like, there's Neil Patrick Harris in it, playing himself as a awful jerk horn dog coke addict.
Okay.
Which is hilarious. And he offers them a ride for a while, and then he double crosses them and gets them into more trouble. And at the end, they finally get to White Castle, and he is there as well. And they don't have much money left. He was like, "Yeah, lunch is on me." It's like, dude, like, you left us in prison, you stole our cars, you almost got us killed. And he turns around and is like, "I said I was sorry." Just walks away, and the way he says it is very clear. It's like, this is restitution. You know, it's like, after years of abuse, Japanese internment camps, whatever. What? We said we're sorry. Go to hell. Like, what more do you want, you dirty immigrants? You know, it's like, it was really in that spirit where it's like, yeah, see, the thing about giving us the restitution, it isn't nearly as satisfying to us as you think it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And wow, you saw that movie at a totally different level than most people did. That's awesome. So it's not even a stoner thing for you anymore. So, I mean, that's nice.
And yeah, I think that's why I appreciate it, because it has more to offer than like, let's get doped up. Although that is a part of the movie.
Yeah, okay.
Undeniably.
Cool.
And again, proof that I am not just reading into things. I mean, the next one's called Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Wow. Yeah, good point.
You know?
Yep. I guess that's why people didn't like the second one as much, because they didn't get the first one. So the second one, you're like, what are they doing?
Well, it goes over the top with some of the jokes where they go too far, but I have to admit the second one has one running joke that's really funny. It's Rob Corddry as this FBI agent who tries to track them after they escape from Guantanamo Bay, who is the single most racist human being you have ever seen, but like, not in a hateful way, but just in a I will stereotype everything that moves kind of way.
Nice. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Where he's interviewing Harold's parents, who are of course both Korean.
Yeah.
And insists on believing that they're speaking Korean, even though they're clearly speaking English.
Wow.
It's hilarious. And he brings over a translator, and he goes like, and they go like, "Why did you bring a translator? We've been here for 25 years. We speak English. You're such an idiot." And the translator turns towards Rob Corddry and goes like, "I don't understand this dialect."
Wow. That's nice.
Anyway, moving on. What is your number one pick for I shouldn't like this, and yet I do?
Yeah. Well, mine a little complicated. It combines two things I don't like, actually. I'm not a huge fan of film noir, because I think it's mostly just a bunch of cliches put together. All the, femme fatale, same characters, always, very, very repetitive. I'm not a huge fan of classical music. I think.
Really? That's a more controversial statement.
Yeah, I think it's kind of boring, honestly.
Yeah.
I like the distortion of the guitar, and classical music, no, it doesn't do it for me.
Wow. Okay.
But when you combine the two in a cartoon, it makes it awesome, apparently. There's this Japanese anime called Big O, which is basically, you can really see the film noir going through all of it. It's a giant robot thing. So, after they do the film noir thing and there's a giant robot that shows up, he gets into his giant robot and fights. And, the Things Just Got Real music that goes on is basically classical music that plays. And throughout all the thing, there's like classical music going all the time. And it's probably one of the better animes that I have ever seen.
Really?
The style is phenomenal. The music is so appropriate to everything, and it stays in your head, not even for days, but for weeks as you're going through it. It is a great anime that I recommend for everybody.
That's interesting. I have never seen it, but you are selling it to me.
Yeah. It has a pretty cool story that, they're in Paradigm City, and 40 years ago, everybody lost their memory. So they don't know how things are working, what's happening. They're just living their lifetime to figure out what happened before 40 years ago. And there's a whole bunch of people trying to recover memories and stuff like that. And it's very involved and interesting. And unfortunately, kind of like Lost, if you miss 1 or 2 episodes, you're like, what is happening? Who is this character? But it is very good. If now you can probably get it on DVD, so there's no reason to miss an episode.
So, I pressed fast forward and I never bothered to look back.
My rewind button is broken. I can do it.
I have to say though, classical music and cartoons I find always go well together. I'm thinking of Bugs Bunny stuff and all that. It's always great, man.
But you don't envision giant robot fighting to the sound of classical music and say, yeah, this is a perfect match, but yet it works perfectly.
That's interesting. Cool.
And so what is your number one?
My number one pick for, I shouldn't like this, and yet I do, is related to a style of horror that I don't really like, which is dubbed torture porn, usually.
Okay.
I'm talking about it's a wave of movies that came out about in the mid-aughts, that started with Hostel and Saw, which is a style of horror that usually involves a group of people getting captured by a serial killer, and him, instead of killing them, tortures them to death.
Okay.
And it was hugely popular in the mid-aughts. Of course, I suspect it's in reaction to the stuff with Guantanamo Bay and whatnot, the controversial stuff that the U.S. government was doing in reaction to 9/11.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like when torture is in the consciousness of the American people, horror filmmakers going like, what could I make a horror film about that's really horrible? And then, obviously torture's going to come up.
Yeah.
And I hate those movies because it's just so bleak and depressing. And it's just unpleasant. Like, I don't watch horror movies to watch killers kill people, which might sound weird to people who don't like horror movies, but I watch horror movies to see people vanquish the killer who kills people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is why I like The Collector.
Okay.
That movie and its sequel, The Collection, are brilliant at inverting that. The basic premise is this. Here you have a guy who's basically like the Saw killer, except he's mobile. He goes into a person's house, sets booby traps all over the place, like razor wires in one place, acid on the floor on the other, or bear traps on the floor and whatnot.
Cool.
And then releases the homeowners onto that environment, and of course they're panics and are not even thinking, so they fall all into the traps one after the other.
Yeah.
Horrifying stuff. That's the kind of serial killer he is. The premise of the movie, though, has nothing to do with that killer per se, so much as there's a cat burglar. I know you don't like thieves, but yeah. He's out for one last score, as they usually do, because his wife has a gambling debt and she's running away with the daughter. He wants to see his daughter, so he wants the money, so he's going to rob the thing. He didn't want to do it at first, but he was like, well, I want to see my daughter. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
So he goes in there and finds himself in the same house as the killer with the family. Because he's a cat burglar and he's smarter, he's smarter about moving in the dark and whatnot. It's like this really weird cat and mouse thing between the killer, who's very smart, and the cat burglar, who's to a certain degree smarter, just not as prepared.
Nice.
And that's the entire movie, and it's great. And what's great about the thing as well is that you find out that the cat burglar is like he's a pretty stand-up guy, because he manages to escape eventually.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and then turns around and sees that there's a little girl who managed to hide away in there, and he's like, I can't leave her there. He calls the cops and then goes back to get her.
At least he called the cops, It's, first thing that, that's never done in horror movies, calling the cops. But that's good. Yeah. And he goes and gets, that's nice.
Yeah. So, and then you have the duel between the two and him trying to save the girl and the killer and all that. And that's the first movie. And the second movie, it continues that story with, again, getting really smart protagonists that can actually take on the killer.
Okay.
It's that same concept. It's so entertaining.
Nice. And that is something, I'm not a fan of torture porn either. I don't see, the point of seeing people get cut up, I wasn't even a fan of Passion of the Christ because I did not see the point of, seeing a guy being tortured on screen for an hour and a half, even though it was Jesus. But that actually seems very interesting, and I might borrow that movie from you.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It's fantastic. All right then. So that's it for us. If you want to share with us your experiences of pleasant surprises in genres you don't like, hey, I finally found a way to say it that sounds half intelligent.
Yeah.
Right
good.
For the end of the show.
That's why we do our homework after the podcast.
That's right. You can write us at idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com, obviously, because that's our site.
Yep.
That's what we do.
Indeed.
And until then,
see you next time.
2, 3.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
I'm Nicholas, I'm the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and Movie Critic. And today what we're going to talk about is a little bit of a complex topic. You came up with it, Nick, you should explain it. I'm washing my hands of this.
Alright, well, basically it's easier to explain it with an example. Okay. Say you don't like a certain genre of movie or TV show or something. Say, for example, you hate superhero movies. And then your friends convince you, or, you give it a shot, and you watch a superhero movie, and, you love it. It's all of a sudden. So basically what we're counting out here is the top 3 movies or TV shows that we shouldn't like, but we do. It doesn't change your view on anything else. You still hate everything from the genre. And yet, you watch it, and you watch that, and you're like, wow, this is spectacular. This is the exception that proves the rule of me hating all of the other genres.
Oh, against all odds.
Exactly.
To randomly quote Phil Collins.
Sure. Why not?
I thought actually that was a pretty challenging one for me, like a challenging top 3 for me. Because I tend to approach things as like, anything could be good. Like, there's very few genres where I disconnect right away. I'll gotta give everything a try.
Okay. I actually tend to be very, very, very selective about my movement, and I don't really go out of my way to see movies I don't like. Like, the ones I watch, I was pretty much tricked into watching them. So, exceptions for me, it's kind of weird.
Alright then, why not let's get started right away with, Nick, you gotta start with your number 3 pick for movie that you shouldn't like, yet you do.
Yeah. Well, I don't care much for musical. I don't get why people just start bursting in songs in the middle of a story.
Why don't you like musicals? It's so entertaining. Sorry.
Most of the time, the music is not that great anyway, and it just feels odd. The way, especially they're filmed, that everybody else is looking at the person like singing, and it's normal. It's really weird to me. So, not a big fan of musical. However, Hard Day's Night is a great film that I really enjoy. I love it. It's from the Beatles, first of all, which I love their music. And when they start singing, it's mostly like they kind of cut away from the movie. It's more filmed like music video style, where it's not at all in the story. They just go and have some music and video, and they do they do the music video, and then it goes back into the story. It's not like integrated, like you're supposed to take it for normal that the Beatles start singing and then they stop and then we go back to the story. No, it's really a cut, and then you see a music video.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's 2 reasons why you like this musical more than others. 1, like you said, it has the Beatles, which means amazing music.
Yeah.
And 2, it's not Help.
Yeah. Even Help, the music in Help. If you cut the rest of the movie and fast forward, I love Help. The way the music videos are filmed, spectacular. The rest of the story, crap. But so that's why I can't really put it on a list. But again, it's the way the music is filmed, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Hard Day's Night's actually a really fun movie. Mostly because it's so lighthearted and sort of like it's a day in the life of kind of movie, and there's no real consequences to it. So you can just watch and enjoy the music. It's not trying to compel you with any like bullcrap drama.
Yeah, it's not like like my favorite reference to that is the Elvis movies, where they try to make Elvis be 100 different things,
and always the underdog.
Yeah. But he's a biker or, jailbird or anything else, but he's not a singer. Or if he's a singer, it's like on the side there. The Beatles are just the Beatles. That's who they are in A Hard Day's Night. So they can act very well because it's basically them being themselves. And yeah, it's no drama. It's just a day in their life. They have to do